Okay, you should be good to go. I'll spotlight your video.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I had it set up like weird on the bed, so I was like, oh no, they're gonna be able to hear me. Yeah, hi, my name is Brooke. I'm from South Dakota. I am currently a stay-at-home mom to my son Granger, who is turned 1 in September. I used to teach band, and I taught 4 through 12 when I taught for 4 years. Watched Morgan for a year and was like, no way I'm doing that at all. And then finally I was like, okay, I want that hair product. And so she ended up talking to me about the business. Obviously I'd seen her pay for gas, pay for credit cards, all the things, and I was like, you know what, if she can do all this, I can get $100 in gas money. And so I was like, babe, I'm gonna do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it. And so I jumped in, and 4 months later I hit Ruby, and I doubled my paycheck each month, and then I tripled it when I went Ruby, which was just incredible. Insert income disclosure statement here. But then 8 months later, realized God's plan for actually bringing me into this business was because I apparently was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And if you'd have asked me in college, that I would have never done that at all. And then the minute we got pregnant, I was like, okay, this is just different. And then obviously you go to ultrasounds, and then he was born, and I was like, okay. And I like broke down one time. I was like, there's no way. And so now I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom because of this business. There's literally so much else that I could go on, but that's the short story. And I'm so excited to have Hannah on here. She is a true inspiration of mine, and so I'm excited to hear from her.
Love it. Thank you so much. I love your story. And I know Hannah is like one of the people that you like look up to in this business. So I was like, this pair is going to be perfect. We'll get Brooke and Hannah going. It's going to be awesome. So Hannah, will you share your story with us? And you have had quite a lot of changes in the last couple of months for you. So give us all of it. How did you find out about this business? What made you join? What has it done for you? Tell us all about it.
Okay, so thank you so much for having me on. This has actually been something on my dream board. So I don't know if Morgan knows this or not, but it kind of actually ties into my story. Is so I joined in June of the very last day of June 2017. I was actually a $10 kit deal. And so I joined my enroller for $10. And guys, we were so broke, I almost tried to get a refund on my, it was actually like $14 with tax and we shipping for our business kit. We were so broke that I almost tried to send my kit back and get my $14 back. That's like to the point that we were at. Brock and I had just gotten married. I was 18 years old when we got married. We we knew getting married young would be financially hard, but that's what we wanted to do. And so we actually got engaged 4 years ago in like 2 days. And so it's crazy how fast time has flown. But he was working manual labor. I was working 4 jobs. So I was waitressing, I was bartending. I actually met my husband bartending. He was my bouncer. So he took care of all the guys that I had troubles with. And so then we ended up dating. And so that's kind of how I met my husband. And so got married. It was hard. It was really hard financially. We were eating beans and cornbread like 3 or 4 times a week because it was so broke. We were just like struggling, and we were just robbing Peter to pay Paul, like the classic situation. And so I was actually going to school for ultrasound. I loved it, but working 4 jobs and trying to go to school full time, like my studies, like I'm an A student, like I was like in the top 10% of my graduating class, but my studies in college were going way down. Like my GPA was dropping because I was working so much. And like Brock and I never ever got to see each other because I was working so much. And so that's why one of my coworkers actually was the one who I joined with, because I saw her be able to cut back on her shifts. And so I was like, that's a scam, that's a scam, that's a scam, until she quit her job that we were working together. And I knew like obviously how much she was making because we had the same job. And so I'm like, well, if she can quit this job, then she must be making money. And so when the $10 kit thing happened, that's when I decided to join. I didn't really do anything for the first like maybe 2 months of my business. I was so scared. I'm from a really little town in Texas. Didn't know a whole lot of people. I had gained weight when we had gotten married. I was the heaviest I had ever been. I was just very insecure. I was just in a really broken place in my life. Not a lot of not good things and a lot of not good decisions left me feeling very broken. And so I was just not in a happy place. And so that's kind of like the background of all of it. So I got started with this business, and then, you know, when I finally decided to like go full force with this, I actually had a fairly quick go up. I promoted to Ruby, then I promoted to Emerald, and there was a $5,000 Emerald bonus right after conference. I earned that bonus, and then I went Diamond, and I was like on cloud 9, pushed so hard for double and missed it. pushed so hard for double again and missed it again. And so I got into a really, really low place in my business. I steamrolled over my team. I was a really, really selfish leader. I'm very, very red. I'm very red. I'm very money motivated. I'm very intense because I'm so passionate about this business. And because of that, I didn't really know how to channel that. And so I steamrolled my team in the beginning a lot. And so God had a lot to teach me. And I went 200,000% the first year of my business. I've pretty much always been a top enroller because enrollments get me like on this high. I love doing that. But like I said, I steamrolled my team and I wasn't able to teach my team how to do that. And so I built myself to diamond and then sat there. I was so burnt out because I was building people who didn't work, and I was just not being the leader that I needed to be. And I couldn't figure out why is this not working faster? Like, why is this not doing it the way that I want to? And in like retrospect, I know why God made me wait now, because my situation now is exactly where I need to be with this business and how it aligns. But I had a lot to learn. And so I sat at Diamond for multiple reasons, but the number one being I needed to focus on my leadership and get better at that. And I needed to truly be consistent every single day, but not consistent as in 200% every day. Consistent as in like find a pace that I could do every single day that wasn't going to burn me out. And so those are the two lessons that I really learned. Sat at Diamond for 2 years, went to conference this past year in January, was pregnant, did not know it. And so I actually went to conference as like an executive. My business was the lowest it had ever been because I pretty much just, there was a lot of, not blaming this, but there was a lot of team stuff going on that I really just let be a distraction for me. And so my business dropped and I wasn't working it like I should. There was just, my husband was in the oil field and he was making really good money. So I didn't really have this like super big need to make a whole lot of extra money. And so I was being paid as like a Ruby in my husband's account. Like I'm pretty sure he wasn't even commission qualified. I'm just gonna be super transparent with y'all. Like my group volume was like 1,200. Like, and that was coming from a diamond down to a 1,200. So my business had pretty much dwindled. Went to conference and was on fire. All that to be said, got back from conference, and 2 days before my son, I have an 19-month-old, his name is Case. This business has always allowed me to be a stay-at-home mom with him. I was bringing in just enough money to not have to go to work, but nothing extra. And so 2 or 3 days before his first birthday, we found out, we were pregnant. We were planning on getting pregnant this summer, but God had different plans, and so it happened 6 months early. So with that being said, I found out I was pregnant, and then went to the doctor, found out, in fact, it was twins. So not only were we unexpectedly pregnant, it was now twins. And then about a week or so after we found out we were having twins, my husband lost his job in the oil field because of all of the COVID stuff, and it crashed the oil field and like all of that. And so I had 2 decisions. I could either have a pity party or I could rise up. And I remember sitting on my couch talking. I had just got off the phone with my mom, and I was like, I have to do this. Like, it is not an option for me to go back to work. I can't leave Case. And I'm like, and to preface, I went into my doctor's appointment thinking that I was like 8 weeks pregnant. No, I was 14 weeks pregnant. So we lost about 2 months off of our pregnancy. And so what I thought I was due at the like very end of November, December was actually the end of September. So I lost a huge chunk of time that I thought I had with my pregnancy. So, and then he lost his job. And so I basically I remember the moment vividly, and this is where my business changed. Was I was sitting on my couch, and I had just gotten done praying, and I was like, I can rise up or I can stay here and like let our situation just, like, everything we've worked for just completely crumble. And so I use that every day as motivation. And so I worked my tail end off every single day. And I think that was the changing point for me was, I found a list of things that I could do each day, and I did them every day without fail, did not go to bed until they were done. And guys, like, my business, like, like times itself like 22 times in like 3 or 4 months. So I went from being paid as an like executive, teetering between an executive and a Ruby with 1,200 group volume, to being paid as a really, really good double diamond paycheck. And so that was kind of like my story. I promoted to double in June, and my husband's account to diamond. And then things were going really good. I was massively pregnant with twins, like massively pregnant. Was absolutely miserable the last 2 weeks, and then went into preterm labor, kind of preterm labor, at 36 weeks in 2 days. And everything was fine. I had a perfect pregnancy. No indication. Every ultrasound looked great. Everything was fine. I delivered at our hospital. And when the boys were born, things seemed okay. But things were not okay. And at first we were told they just had minor breathing problems, which is fairly common with premature babies, especially twins. So they were being transported to a different hospital so they could get a little bit higher support, because like I said, we live in a really little town. One of them had normal amount of breathing problems, and the other one was very, 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 very sick. He had severe lung disease, and they both had lung disease, but one of them was super severe, and we had no idea. We don't have family history of this, no problems in my pregnancy. He was twin B, so there wasn't any risk of infection or like breaking of fluids that we didn't know about. There was literally no explanation as to why they were sick. Things progressively got worse. So they ended up putting them on this thing called CPAP, and it basically just like forces air like into their lungs. And then my Lane, which was the sick one, actually went on this thing called an oscillator. It's kind of like a ventilator, but a little bit different. It's putting positive pressure in the lungs at all times to keep them expanded. And then things continued to get worse. His stats wouldn't stabilize. Things were absolutely awful. And he ended up on a thing called Ecmo. Ecmo is the highest level of life support he could have possibly been on. There was not a whole lot of hope in the hospital from the hospital team. They come to find out later, about only 20 people in the entire hospital would be on Ecmo, and only about 3 or 4 would come off within like a 2 or 3 year period. So this is a super, super rare thing. And what Ecmo is, just to kind of give y'all like how severe this was, is they basically cut into these big veins in your neck and put 2 catheters, one down in your heart and one somewhere else. And they take out all the blood of your body because his lungs weren't working, filter it, oxygenate it, and put it back in because his lungs weren't working at all. They had the conversation with us that he probably wasn't going to make it. I was devastated, but I was in complete and utter shock. This was all within like a 10-hour period. I had no idea what was going on. I was completely just numb. And no one ever wants to hear that your baby's probably may not make it through the night. And if he makes it through this procedure, it's not looking good that he will ever come off. So all of that being said, that's kind of like my story. And now, by the grace of God and his miraculous healing, my baby is home. He is 6 weeks old now. He is completely and 100% healed. There's no evidence other than just a tiny little scar on his neck that he was sick. He's perfect. And so we had people all around the nation praying for my baby. And so he is completely healed. And we are home and loving it. And, I'm trying to do good with the 3 under 2. So if you're a mom of young children, I feel you. But that's kind of my story in a nutshell. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Thank you for saying all of that. I didn't know the full story. I just saw the Facebook parts of it. So, wow, I was like this the whole time. Like, that's crazy that God just like healed him like that. That's awesome. So I just want to know really quick before I hand this kind of over to Brooke. Brooke, can you see if you can unmute yourself? I think I allowed you to, but I don't know. If it doesn't let you, I'll unmute you. But I just wanted to see if there's anyone that can relate to Hannah's story. She said so many things that I feel like somebody in here can relate to. Anybody married really young, 18, 19, 20, anybody married young, put a 1 in the chat. Anybody have 3 kids under 2 or 2 kids under 2 or a kid under 2? Put one in the chat. If you have ever struggled in your business and felt like, crap, am I ever going to come back from this? Put a 1 in the chat. If you feel like you, you're like a, I don't know, one hit wonder or whatever, and you went all the way up, you went super fast, you went diamond super quick, and then just kind of sat there, put a 1 in the chat. If you feel like you have built people who didn't want to be built, who didn't really want this, I know that's me too. Yeah, me right here. I'll put a 1 in the chat. Anybody ever felt like they steamrolled over their team and were a selfish leader? Okay, I feel like Hannah and I have very similar stories. And so anybody ever have a comeback? Put a 1 in the chat. Anybody have a comeback like Hannah? Anybody claiming a comeback? Put a 2 in the chat. If you're claiming a comeback, put a 2 in the chat. I want to see. Okay, so there are so many people who are claiming a comeback who can relate to Hannah's story. So guys, I want y'all to listen to the next couple of things that we're going to ask her with that mindset of not, oh, this is Hannah and she's a girl speaking on our Zoom. Like, oh my gosh, she's so special. She is so special. She's absolutely incredible. But when you put these people who you see on stage at conference or speaking on Zooms on this pedestal, it makes it completely unattainable for you, and it's not. I want you to know that we're real people. That's why I asked if you can relate to her. I want you to pick the thing of her story that you related to, even if you're older than she is, even if you're younger than she is. Maybe you're not a mom, and that part you can't relate to, but you can relate to wanting more out of life. You can relate to working 4 jobs, right? Pick that part of her story, relate to her with that, and listen to that, thinking like, oh my gosh, we're very similar in this way as we continue with the rest of these questions, because that's going to help you to be able to feel like you can tangibly do the things she's going to teach you how to do, and that you can feel encouraged by what she's saying, because she's not this, oh my gosh, person that we can never relate to. She is so much like you in some way. Okay. So I'm going to give y'all permission to unmute yourselves. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So yeah, y'all take it away and I'll just jump in whenever.
I just have one last thing to say as you're saying that, with like not putting people on pedestals, but also like you're on this Zoom. Okay, yeah, that's definitely weird to look at my face. No. You're on this Zoom for a reason. And I remember that I used to like use Zoom time to finish up work that I had. And then I started having smaller team Zooms and guests, like Hannah was actually a guest on my smaller team Zoom once. And then I started speaking on them and I was like, wow, I see a lot of people on their phones. And I don't mean to call you guys out, but what are you actually going to get out of the Zoom if you're sitting there on your phone? Like the people that have aha moments when we ask for them after in the chats, those are the people that were paying attention. Now I'm a mom and my husband is thankfully watching Granger right now, praying that he gets to this. But I know that if you have to step away, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not calling you out. Maybe something else happens. I don't know. Maybe your dog's getting into something. But if you're not paying attention to this, it will not help you. And that's all I'm going to say on it. But it was, hear my yellow heart in this. I'm just saying. Okay. So Hannah, someone answered this on my small team Zoom. So I know some of my girls might know this, but I know there's obviously literally, I think like hundreds of people on here, which is so cool. And we get it a lot. You're obviously busy, because sometimes people think stay-at-home moms are like, oh, they don't do anything but sit on the couch. Oh, well, that's funny. So how do you manage your business, helping your team, and being a mom to 3 and also obviously a wife? Like, how do you balance all of that?
So I think the number one thing is the business has to be a priority. So I kind of left this out of my story. So when my husband got laid off from the oil field, we knew that the twins obviously were coming. And so I also knew that it was going to be really, really hard. And I wanted him to be able to stay home and help me with the boys. And so my goal was to retire him and for him to be able to full-time be at home. And so that just happened in a little bit different way than I thought it would, by him losing his job first. But it has to be a priority. And so because I had made this a priority, my husband does. He's still home. He's in there taking care of the boys right now. Like, he gets to be home because this business pays for like literally everything, every expense that we have, this business pays for. income disclosure statement right there. But it has to be a priority. You have to, don't let the reason why you started this business be the excuse as to why you can't work it. And I think that's a super common thing that a lot of people say, but it's very, very true. Like the reason that, I mean, I didn't start this for my kids because I didn't have kids, but that's the reason that I do this now. And so if, you know, I would never look at my boys and say, you're the reason mommy can't work. Like I could never. So like, I'm not going to use them as an excuse as to why I can't work my business. Now it may look a little bit different. Like I don't get to work my business the same like that I did before. And I'm constantly like changing and evolving and being better in those areas. But you can't let the reason that you started the business be the reason you can't work the business. And so I think if you're a mother, especially, like there's, what? Yeah. Come here. This is Asher. And so that is like the number one thing that I would have to say is this business has to be a priority. And if I feel myself getting frustrated, like when I'm trying to work or I'm trying to get messages sent out and like Case is crawling all over me or the twins are screaming and I feel that I'm getting frustrated, that's when I typically like will let my business or I'll put my phone away. I'll put my business away because it's obvious that my kids need my attention. And I am a wife and a mother first. I'm not a business owner first. I'm a wife first, and I'm a mother second, and I'm a business owner third. And I believe that's the balance that God wants me to do. And so if I put my business in front of my husband or I put my business in front of my children, that's not the way God designed it to be. And so how is he going to be able to adequately bless that if that's the order that I'm following? It's the same as if you put your marriage in front of your relationship with Christ. It's not supposed to be that way. Like, so God has to be first and your husband has to be second. It's the same with your business. You know, I'm a wife first, mom second, business owner third. And so if I notice that, I can probably hear the other one screaming in the back, sorry. But if you feel yourself getting like, I used to be that way when Case was crawling on me or, you know, messing with me or like it was distracting me from working my business, I would get really frustrated with him, and that's not his fault. And so during those times is when I would, okay, I'm going to put my phone away, I'm going to step away, and I'm going to be a mom because that's my job first. Or, you know, I have to cook dinner. That's my job first. And so, you know, let go of the expectation of, you know, Morgan works her business this way, or Brooke works her business this way, or I work my business this way, and do what works for your family. I'm not saying, you know, make excuses and don't work your business like at all. I'm saying, you know, if someone works their business in the morning and that doesn't work for you, work at night or work in the middle or work at nap time or work what, you know, let go of the expectation of like what you think it has to look like, because ultimately this is your business. And it works the way that you work it. And that's the great thing about it. And so, because I don't want to work my business out of a place of frustration or resentment towards the business or towards my children. I don't want to, you know, be trying to work my business and my kids are distracting me, so I resent my children. And I don't want to only focus on my children so much that I can't work my business or vice versa, or I miss time with my kids because of this business and resent the business. So I try and find that balance of, you know, be fine. And I'm not perfect at it and I still struggle. Like today I didn't get to work my business as much, and like it's my goal to work more after this Zoom. And so that's what works for me. And so just be flexible, like let go of the idea that you have to do it a certain way, because there is no right or wrong. There is no way that it has to be done. And every day may look different for you. And then the next thing is my biggest insecurity is my leadership, because I told y'all my story. I feel like I was such a poor leader for so long that it made it really like I'm just very self-conscious of it, and I'm constantly trying to be better. And I think that's what makes me a better leader now. I'm still working on it, is because I'm so aware of what I don't want to be. There's certain qualities that either I did or I had another leader make me feel like that I didn't want to be. And so that's how I always try and like put my team in a position. Like I always want to make them feel like they are my priority as well in the business, because they are. Because guys, like, you know, this will come up later, but I am a top enroller. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Like, I do have really high enrollments, and that's great. Awesome. I can enroll a lot of customers, but if I can't teach my team to do that, then I will always be exactly where I'm at. And that's why I stood still for so long and stood at Diamond, and my business dwindled, is because I could add to my business all day long, but I couldn't multiply my business. I didn't know how to teach it because I was so focused on my enrollments and my success that I wasn't willing to teach my team. And I think that's the difference. And so I've really let go of the idea that working my business is only working my business. No, working my business still involves helping my team work their business. And so that's kind of how I do that. And then the last thing that I want to say, there's a scripture in Matthew, I think it's Matthew 14, and it talks about the 5 loaves and 2 fish. And that's what I pray over my business. God, you know my situation. You know I'm crazy busy. Like, you know that I want this so bad, and you know I make it a priority, and you know that I want this, and like all of the things. But you also know that I can't do it, not to the level that I did it before, but I can't do it the same way. And so I'm asking you to bless, like you did the 5 loaves and 2 fish, to feed 5,000 people. I don't know if I was raised in church and Sunday school, and so I know all the little Bible stories, but there's a story in the Bible, and I think it's Matthew 14, that God, there was only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And there was 5,000 people that needed to be fed. And God made the 5 loaves and 2 fish last. And he multiplied it, and he, blessed what was there. And that's the type of prayer that I pray over my business is, God, you know the situation, you know what I'm offering, you know what I have, you know I'm giving this every single thing that I have. I pray that you multiply it and make it enough. And that's what I pray over my business, because like I said, God has crazy power, and, ranks are just ranks, and volume is just numbers. And, if he can, the same type of God that, parted the Red Sea and, multiplied the fish and the bread and and the same power that raised Jesus from the dead is the same power that lives inside of you. And so I try and always work my business from a place of faith and not fear, and not work my business out of a place that's like, oh, if this happens. Instead, I work from a place that when this happens, because I know it will, because that's the kind of God we serve. And so that's kind of off on a tangent, but that's how I kind of balance my business, if that answered that.
Hang on, I'm going to mute everybody to give y'all permission to unmute yourselves. So hang on. Okay, now try to unmute. Oh, wait. Okay, now try to unmute yourself.
We're good. Okay. No, I love that. And I love the tangents. It's totally okay, because like I said, when I first talked to you about this, I was like, if you go off on a tangent, like, it must be what God thinks someone needs to hear on the Zoom. So like, let's go. It's totally fine. But I want to highlight one thing that she said. She said, you don't have to work like me. You don't have to work like Morgan, and you don't have to work like her. You have to work what fits your schedule. Like, how many of you are college students, maybe not even married? Put a 3 in the chat. I don't know where we're at. So put a 3 in the chat if you're a college student or you're not married. I just want to see if there's any. Okay, yeah. So see, there's some people there. So you're not a mom. You're not a wife. So your stories might look completely different from ours, but you still have to figure out what works for you. So like Hannah, I think most of the time, from what I know, stays up later to work, and me and Morgan are morning workers. I've been getting up at 4:15, 4:30 in the morning, my time, to work before Granger gets up, because I am that mom that when Hannah was talking about when she was getting frustrated with her baby climbing all over her, oh, I feel that. And then I'm just not excited to work. I get so frustrated, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. And she's right. You got to do what you have to do for you. And so like, just remember that and figure out the little cliches. I don't know how to say that. The little quirks, like how you work your business, figure out what works for you. I don't fully enjoy getting up at 4:15 in the morning, but I do enjoy getting my work done by about 8:30 in the morning and having the rest of the day to just respond to messages and spend with my son. But I do want to say, though, that whatever you're doing, whether you're a mom or whether you're hanging out with your boyfriend or your husband or whatever it is, or family, be present in that. Because I think there's a lot of people that think they have to be on their phone 24/7. No, I take it into the bathroom when I'm with people, and I'll just spend a couple extra minutes and respond to a message, and then I'm back and I'm fully present. Same with Granger. I'm not half and half. He knows he's one, but he will know that, my morning is my morning, and that's my work. And usually about 8:30, 9 o'clock, then it's time, and for the most part, I'm half and half, and that's a whole different tangent. But I wanted to explain that because I really feel like it's important to define what works for you and not base your work off of how someone else works. So you kind of like went into this a little bit, Hannah. The mindset obviously can be tough. There's a lot of things, whether it's just people getting in your head or whether it's you getting in your head. I specifically kind of want to talk about doubt, but like, how do you stay focused on moving forward on that progress that you want to make and not let that doubt or fear like kind of overtake you, in a sense, if that makes sense?
So I kind of finished the last part with the same thing, but like, it's so true, is I really truly I try and work from a place of faith, and not like faith of this is going to happen rather than fear that it's not. And so I think that speaks through like when I talk and like when I'm on my stories and when I'm on my posts, because like I'm not necessarily like, yes, like ambassador feels really far away, but it's not necessarily like, oh, if that ever happens, it's just when. And so when you work from that place, whatever your goal is, whether you're trying to go ruby or you're trying to go emerald or diamond, or maybe you're trying to go presidential or ambassador, like it doesn't matter what your goal is. But if when you work like it's going to happen, instead of, I'm scared it's never going to, like you just work differently. And I feel like, and God blesses that. And I feel like, because, fear is not from him. He doesn't put fear in our hearts. That's our doing. That's, the enemy's doing. And so, when you work out of a place of God's got this, like, and this is something that there's little parts of my story that I kind of left out that like I want to mention, is like when I was going double, we were a long way away when the month that we decided to go double. And like, I really didn't even feel like double was possible until the 15th of the month. And then I was like, I still don't know if it's possible. And so I really try and pray every day about my mindset. And if it's not like I try not to say like I just really try and speak life over my business is what I'm trying to say. Like I really, really try and work on not saying things about people not working or being frustrated that I haven't signed anybody, because like I had said earlier in the Zoom, I get a high off of enrollments. Like if I'm not enrolling, I feel like I'm not working, or I'm not doing all the things. And so, coming from someone who has mass enrollments, like I really have to work, like, I haven't signed a loyal customer in 2 days. So instead of being like, oh my gosh, like why haven't I try to evaluate like, okay, what could I have done better? And like go from there. Or, I'm planting seeds and having that mindset rather than, oh, no one's buying from me, or I can't sign a loyal customer, or try and get myself in that funk. I also try and have the mindset that, God is for me. He's for me. He's not against me. He's not trying to put up, constant things for me to just constantly like, overcome and feel like a failure. He's for me. He wants me to prosper. He wants me to have abundance, and he wants that for you too. And so working from a place of that, not like if this is ever going to happen, but when, really, really, really changes the way that you work your business. And I'm going to keep saying that because I really, really want you to understand that. Like God, like I would never, okay, so I have 3 boys, and I would never, like God loves them more than I love them. He loves you more than anybody loves you. Like God, you are his children. Like, I don't think that y'all like, we understand that completely. Like there is nothing that he wouldn't do for us, and he only has our best interest at heart. And like, he's not going to look at you and be like, you don't deserve the same abundance as Morgan. You don't deserve the same abundance as Hannah. You don't deserve the same abundance as Brooke. I would never look at Case or Asher or Lane and be like, you know what? Case is worthy of $140,000 a year, but Asher's only worth 40. Like, that's not how God works. That's not how like us as parents and mothers work. We want, abundance for all of our children, and God's the same way. And so when you work from a place of he is for me, he wants to prosper me, he wants to bless my business, you're going to work differently. And so, that and this is a newfound mindset, and I still struggle with it. I still have days where I'm like, man, is this ever going to happen? Like, am I ever going to, accomplish all the goals? But when I shift my mindset and be like, volume is a number. Volume is a number. A rank is just a title. God's got it. Like, he parted the freaking ocean. Like, he's got my timing. And so, so when I went double, this is the point. I get off on rabbit trails. I'm sorry. When I was going double on like the 26th, 25th, something like that, I had an entire Ruby leg cancel. And I'm like, like not just not work. I mean, cancel her account. She was at 1,800 volume. She needed 200 to go Ruby. I had to completely build a new Ruby with completely new volume. I had just placed like literally myself like 1,200 orders under this Ruby, and she canceled her account. I messaged her and was like, please, I will pay you, like turn back on your account. Like, I need this. And you know what? It didn't happen. She ignored me and she like didn't respond. So I was like, no, God, like God's got this. God's got this. And I kept praying, like God, I just need the bare minimum. I just need 15K, please. Like, I just need 15K. Guys, not only did he give me 15K, but I went double with like 17,000. So, I specifically prayed. I'm a huge advocate for specific prayer, because specific prayer is what healed my little boy. And he's done numerous other things in my life that we won't touch on, but God wants you to be specific. Like, I'm not just talking like, God, heal my little boy. I'm like, no, God, I need you to make his numbers be 32 or lower. Like, I was specific. I need you to, make his blood gas level this number or lower, not just make his blood gas level be good. Like, and I pray over my business the same way. I was praying, I need 15,000. I need 15,000, God, I need 15,000. And I prayed that every day of the month. And like, guys, I went double with like 17,000. So when you give it to God and just work out of faith, like, that's the kind of God we serve. I asked for 15,000 and he gave me 17,000. And, in a month that I wasn't even sure I was going double. Like, I didn't even know I was going double. And then when the month end hit and I was like feeling the weight of all had happened, and I looked at my volume and I was like, we finished with like 16,800 or something like that. Like, what? Like, 4 days ago, I wasn't even sure we were going to hit 15,000. Like, how does this happen? And guys, like, exactly what Morgan said at the beginning, like, I am literally no different than anyone on this Zoom. Like, I've struggled with all the things that all of you have probably struggled with. Like, don't put any leader that ever talks to you on a Zoom on a pedestal, because like, we are literally just normal people who just decided that we were going to do this business and just decided to be successful. And then I'm just constantly finding new things that motivate me. It's a huge goal of ours to build a house within the next little like year. That's a huge goal of mine. And so when I get discouraged, or when I'm, not wanting to work, or because, that I struggle with that just like everyone else, I think about the things that motivate me and what I don't want. I don't want Brock to have to go back to work, and I don't want to have to go back to work, and I don't want these things to happen, or I do want these things to happen. And that's what motivates me to work harder. So if that answers that question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And that's totally okay. If it's okay with you, I'm going to skip ahead, but I want to highlight one thing. You talked about praying about your mindset. And I don't know if I've really ever thought about that, about just like actually like praying like, hey, I know I have a negative mindset over this, or I know I'm speaking negatively over people not wanting this, but I do know that people want this. That's why people are able to enroll like you and enroll like Morgan. Like, obviously people do want this. So I just wanted to highlight that because that was just really, really cool. But I do know we're running kind of out of time. So I want to skip to one that I feel like is really something that I love about you and Morgan and just a lot of the other top leaders. Like, how do you distinguish yourself from other distributors? And like, obviously, like there's a lot of us, but there's not, you know what I mean? But like, how do you feel like you stand out, or like, because you're super active on your story. And like, I remember saying the last time, like, I still feel like I know you. I feel like I know your life, but I never actually met you. And so like, can you just kind of talk about that? Because I feel like it's really inspirational the way you would like talk about it.
So I really just try and be super open with my following. Like you said, like we've never met, and you've told me multiple times, like you feel like you know me. And that's how I think that I really feel like I distinguish myself, and I'm sure other leaders do the same thing, is like I'm just very transparent. I'm very, like, I just show what I'm doing that day. And like, you may not think that showing what you have for dinner, or showing that you're getting your nails done, or, you know, showing things that you're doing throughout the day, makes a difference in your business, but it does. Like, people want to join people who they relate to. And, you know, you may think that like showing a picture of what your kid has for lunch doesn't relate, but like other moms, like that, you could relate to that, or, you know, whatever your situation is. And I'm constantly just trying to think of new ways to relate to other people. That's what I just want y'all to know, is like, I want y'all to find a part of my story that y'all relate to and cling to that. Because like I said, I'm no different than anyone else on this Zoom, or any other leader. And so like, I don't feel like I can adequately explain this the way that I want it to. But just truly being open, like showing people who I am is how I distinguish myself. And like, people remember me, and like now people are like, oh yeah, that twin mom. Like, that's how people remember me, because like I've made it abundantly clear my story as a mother. And I'm probably overkill about it. I'm on my stories on Instagram like all day, because that I have seen such an exponential growth in my business, because I've been showing exactly like what I'm doing throughout the day, and like talking about my enrollments, and shouting out my team goals, and shouting out, you know, what my team's accomplishing, and then throwing in things about the business, and then, you know, showing what I'm having for lunch, and showing what I'm wearing, and then doing an outfit and doing my makeup, and then showing more things about the business. Like all of that, you know, when people are like, oh, I'm getting my nails done today, or, oh, I need to go get my nails done. And then they click to the next slide and see, oh, she enrolled a customer while she was doing her nails, or whatever. Like, they're going to be like, it just plants that subconscious seed in their head. Like, I could do that. Like, if she's getting her nails done and doing that, I'm doing that, you know? So, just doing those types of things is how I kind of like try and distinguish myself. And then just, you know, being super big on like interaction, like letting people know who I am. I want my name to like pop up in their head when they think about weight loss or skincare or making extra money or being broke. Like, I want them to think of that twin mom, like on my Instagram. Like that's how I try and do, and just, you know, be loud and not really, I really don't care. Like, if you don't want to follow me, don't follow me. Like, and that's how I feel about my followers. Like, if you don't want to follow me because I'm in a network marketing company, then don't follow me, because I know there's several other people who do. And so I'm just super loud about what I do, and I'm super loud about my life and my marriage and, you know, my faith, and, you know, just those different things that I feel like make me who I am. So.
No, I absolutely love that. And I don't know if Morgan wants to touch on this, because Morgan, you're also super, super active on your stories, and like, whether it's your laugh stuff or whether it's your like just playing with Nala. Like, I could watch your videos on Nala all day, and I'm not a dog person, I'm a cat person. So I don't know actually. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Christy's saving. So I'll just move on to the next one. But I love every bit of that. I'm trying to think here. Okay. I really like this question. I'm really interested to hear your answer on it. So if it's okay, I'm gonna back up this for a second. What did you fail at in your business that taught you a lesson that, in a sense, like, you feel like skyrocketed your business, or was really just a life-changing moment for you in your business?
I've briefly touched on both of these. So number one, I feel like I failed at my leadership. Like, it just, I was so money hungry that I steamrolled. And do I hate that happened? Yes, absolutely. I wish I could go back and change it. But it taught me so much about how to be a compassionate leader. And it's okay to be red. It's okay to be very money motivated. It's okay to have big goals and want to run after those things, but also care about what other people's goals and are too. And like, being a mother has helped me a lot with this too. And God's done a lot of work in my life over the last 2 years. So it's not just that, you know, I was just selfish. Like, I just was, like I had told you, I was in just a very bad place in my life when I joined this business. And so that had a lot to do with it as well. So God has really done a lot of work in me just as a person that has helped my leadership. But my leadership definitely was a weak spot for me. But at the same time, like, you don't need a leader to be successful. Okay. So like, I didn't have a ton of leadership when I joined. I joined and like didn't hear from my enroller for like 12 weeks. Like I didn't hear from her until I started enrolling. And so there were things about, this is not to dog the person, she's not in the business anymore, but this is not to dog the person who enrolled me. This was just to say, like, the people who want to be successful will be successful. And like, that's why I was so honored that Morgan asked me to be on her Zoom, because I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, like I watched every single video on Morgan's YouTube when I joined, because I wanted to be successful so bad, like so bad it hurt. And I would do anything that I could to get knowledge. And so if you're in a position where maybe your leader isn't super present, number one, you have a leader. It's just where it's at, like go up, keep going up until you find a leader. But, you know, also do your own research. YouTube is full of videos and trainings that can help you. And so I just kind of wanted to touch on that. God kind of had told me to talk about that. So I just wanted to mention that. But then the second thing was my consistency. I was a top enroller. I would go 200% for like a month. And then I was so burnt out because I went so hardcore that I didn't want to work for the next 2 months. And then I would kind of slack off, and then my business would fall, and then I would panic and work 200% for another month and then be so burnt out. And that's why I sat at Diamond for so long, is because I was trying to like do this like seesaw thing where I was going all in and then half in and then all in again. And it never gave me what I needed. It never produced momentum. It never did any of that. And so something that I've talked about on my team Zooms before, so if you're on my team listening to this, you're gonna be like, oh, this again. But you have to find your jogging/running pace. This whole business is not a sprint. It's not, let's see how fast I can run a mile. Like you at 200%. You just need to find your 80%. Find what you can do every single day that's working you and challenging you, and you go to bed feeling proud, but that you're not like, oh my gosh, I never want to talk about a cleanse again. Because that's to the point that I was at. I was, you know, enrolling like 60, 70 customers a month, which is great, but I was the only one on my team doing anything, and I was running at 200% and no one was wanting to come with me. And you know, those kind of go together. So my biggest advice is find your running pace. What is your 80%? I tell this to my team all the time. What is the thing that you can do every single day that challenges you, makes you better, you know, makes you go to bed feeling so proud of yourself, but that you want to get up the next morning and do it again? That's your running pace. Promotion months, absolutely. Those are sprint months. Those are 200% every single day, because you're pushing for promotion. But general, just like building your business, and like that's what got me to double, to promote, and that's what will get me to triple. Is, you know, today was not a 200% day. Today was an 80% day, because this month, you know, like the months leading up to my promotion, it wasn't just the month that I promoted that I was going 200%. It was the months before that I was 80%, 80%, 80%, 80%, which added up to awesome momentum to leading us into promotion month of, okay, every day is 200%. And so do those little things every single day. It truly is. Just get up and do your things. Whenever you can, do your things. Find your list, whether that's KPIs, core 4, 6 lists, whatever you call it, whatever your team teaches. Do those things and just do them every day. Check it. Like that is what makes you, that's promoting. That is what makes you promote. You don't promote just the month that you promote. You promote the months prior to promoting. My promotion to double started back in April when I got my butt into gear, which ended up me promoting in June. And so, you know, you're working for your promotion now. Like, guys, like we have a huge few months coming up with the first of the year. Do your promoting work now. The seeds that you plant now are going to help you in that. So anyway.
No, I love it. And to touch on that a little bit, I don't remember what Zoom I was on that someone said it, or maybe it was Morgan, but she said long-term consistency is better than short-term intensity. And that was a real big aha moment for a lot of people, because they had been going so intense for so long, and they're like, oh yeah, I put on a lot of work and it didn't work. And I remember one time I got like similar to that. And I was talking to Morgan, and she's like, well, your efforts are 3 months ahead of your business. And so it's just something to remember as you're going. I think that was pretty much, you kind of hit all the things. And so I guess unless Morgan has something, I just want to thank you so much for being on, and thank you for allowing me to co-host with Morgan here, and just obviously you're momming it out over here and hold little Asher there. And I don't hear the other one screaming, so hopefully Brock is okay. But we just wanted to thank you so much. And I just want to, like, seriously, if you learned something oh my gosh, from this Zoom, put it in the chat real quick. We want to know if you learned something, because I always know that I see it now, like when you see the chat blow up, it's really, really exciting. And so I want to know, like, kind of what you learned, or if you got something out of it. And the last thing I want to touch on really quick before we go is she was talking about all these people on YouTube that you can go watch. She watched Morgan. So Morgan is someone that she looks up to. I found her actually because a girl that I looked up to had left the business, and I was like, crap, I need to find someone new. And so I started watching the different videos, started kind of seeing like, okay, who's some different moms that I could follow. And then all of a sudden I found Hannah. And so there's lots of different people, and it's not that Morgan can't be your inspiration, or maybe it's me or whoever it is, but I like to find someone outside of your team so that you can get a different perspective on things, and maybe they'll word their story differently or something like that. And you just never know who God is going to lead you to. So I think that's pretty much it. And I just want to thank you guys so much for hopping on. And I just can't wait to see our businesses explode in these last couple of months. So that's what I got. I hope you guys have an awesome night. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Y'all killed it. Thank you, Hannah. Love it.
Bye.
Bye, guys.